Hey there everyone, Mychal A. Bryan here from the Oraculos School of Astrology, and today we're starting a brand new series on the 12 Terrestrial Houses. The houses are a very interesting and magical and mystical and contentious topic within traditional astrology, and today I really want to share with you my understanding of the houses, not just based on my astrological study and research, but also just based on my astrological practice. So I'm going to be sharing things with you today that you probably may not have heard before in terms of the 12 houses, and I hope that you sit back, relax, and enjoy today's presentation. The very first thing that's important to speak about when talking about the houses is to define what the houses are within the context of traditional astrology. Within traditional astrology, the houses represent 12 different distinct areas of life. And from an astrological perspective, everything that can occur to us within the context of our lifetime can be described by one or several of the 12 astrological houses. So the houses, in a very real way, from an astrological perspective, represent discrete areas of human concern. For those of you who have read my first book, Mastering Traditional Astrology, you will know that my personal philosophy regarding astrology is that all astrology is question-based. When we come into an astrological space, or even when we come into the space of giving an astrological reading, we go into that space to answer questions. And even if we're not answering questions in a horary astrology context, such as, should I marry this person or should I take this trip, we're still answering questions that are built into the chart. So if we sit down for a natal astrology reading with someone, a person who hasn't come with any questions at all, and our intention is to read that chart simply based on the chart itself, we're going into that chart reading with the question, who is this person? And that question is answered through an assessment of the first house, the ruler of the first house, aspects to the first house cusp, as well as planets that might be physically in that first house. The second question that is just built into our natal charts is, what will the standard of my finances be like within this lifetime? Or what is my personal wealth potential within this lifetime? That's a universal question that's already built into the chart. Whether or not the person receiving the reading has verbalized that question is already built into the chart. And that question is answered based on the planets that are in the second house, the ruler of the second house, the house location of the ruler of the second house, and aspects to the second house ruler. The third house questions, what will the nature of my relationship with my siblings be if I have siblings? And if I don't have siblings, what will my relationship to my community be like? The fourth house, what will my relationship to my father and my family be like? The fifth house, what will my relationship to my children be like? Will I have children within this lifetime? These are the questions that we derive from the fifth house. The sixth house, what will my relationship to my own physical well-being be? In other words, will I be sick? And in this lifetime, if I am to be sick, what will the quality of my sicknesses be as I navigate the world around me? Another question from the sixth house could be, what will the relationship between myself and my employees be? And we cannot forget the tiny animals, because another question that the sixth house answers is, what will my relationship to my pets be if I have those? Seventh house, what will my relationship to love and marriage and romance be? What will my relationship to my marital partner be like? How will I navigate and interact with the topic of love and romance in general? The eighth house, what will my relationship to my spouse's money be? What will my relationship to other people's money in general be like? Will I receive an inheritance when my parents die? All of these questions are derived from the eighth house. And of course, 400 years ago, it also would be common to answer the question, what will the quality of my death be like within this lifetime? At the end of my life, how will my life end? Essentially, is also a question that is derived from the eighth house. The ninth house, what will the quality of my religious experience be like? What will the depth of my religiosity be? What will my relationship to foreign land and higher education be like within this lifetime? The ninth house also answers the question, will I be a good astrologer? The 10th house, what will my relationship to my career be like within this lifetime? What will I be known for within the world? How will people view me? How will people see me? How will I be accepted? Will I even be accepted? What will I be accepted and known for is derived from the 10th house. The 11th house. What will the substance be that I receive from my career? In other words, what will my salary be like within this lifetime? How much money will I make from the work that I do within the world? How will the money that I make from the work that I do in the world augment or impact my personal relationship to my finances in general? Because you may have a very wonderful financial promise based on your second house, planets in the second house, the ruler of the second house, and aspects to the ruler of the second house. However, when it comes to the money that you make from your work money may not necessarily be that great. So what do you do, or what will be possible based on the money that you receive from your work? Will that money go towards paying for never-ending bills, and therefore you stay in the cycle of having a lack of money within your lifetime? Or even within whatever size your salary is, will you be able to save and conserve, and will you be able to become financially wealthy based on the salary from your job? Also, what will the nature of my friendships be like? What will my circle of friends be like? Will my friends be loyal? Will they be unloyal? Will they be people I can depend on? Will they be people who have my back? Will I have a friendship circle that's constantly shifting and changing? Will I have friends in general? And finally, the 12th house. What will my relationship to things that I do to myself that undermine myself be like? In other words, how will I navigate my own bad habits within this lifetime? Will those bad habits be an overwhelming force within my life? Will I find myself constantly having to bark up the wrong tree because I'm not shifting my behavior and how I approach life in general? Also, who are the people within my life within this lifetime who do not mean me well? Or who are the people and the relationships within my life that I don't really want to talk about? People who we don't want to talk about, we stuff them in our 12th house. Experiences in life that we have that we don't want to talk about, we stuff those in our 12th house as well. So what will my relationship be like to the things that have caused me pain? What will my relationship be like to the things that have caused me hardship and trauma and grief and silent suffering that I don't even know how to put into words in order to express that with others? These are the things that we find as we navigate the 12 houses of our chart. And truthfully speaking, from an astrological perspective, there's no question that can be asked that cannot be answered through an assessment of one of the 12 astrological houses. This model and this concept of the 12 houses of life is so important. And I think even in systems of astrology where we're not using houses, such as Uranian astrology or even cosmobiology, this idea of being able to give a person commentary on these 12 sectors of life, whether we're using houses or not, it makes for the creation of a good astrological experience. So, for example, even in versions of astrology, if we go back and we think about Ptolemy's astrology, which more so has to do with the planets and their relationship to each other, as opposed to a more Dorothean system of astrology, which has to do with the houses and the relationship between the lords of houses. If we're focusing within a more Ptolemaic system of astrology, where we're just talking about Mars and Venus as Mars and Venus and not necessarily as the rulers of houses, it still makes sense for us to organize how we approach giving an astrological reading based on these 12 topics of life. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the 12 houses, what the 12 houses do, how they function, how they operate, how they derive their meanings, what we can expect based on the planets being in the houses, a whole lot of stuff. Everything that I'm going to be saying can be found within my first book, Mastering Traditional Astrology, A Depth of Beginning in the Celestial Art. I have 2 chapters specifically dedicated to the houses, 1 chapter dedicated to the philosophy of the houses, and another chapter dedicated to what the houses actually mean, not just based on the basic way that we think about the houses, but what do they mean, and what is the mystical underpinnings of the houses. All of that is held here within Mastering Traditional Astrology. So if you haven't bought yourself a copy yet, please do so. You can purchase a copy by visiting Amazon.com and looking up the book.